Okay, so we're here for our second part of our heroes presentation. Remember, in our first half, we looked at what makes a hero and how do we pick our heroes. Then we talked about heroes in literature. We defined hero and we defined heroine. Now we're going to look at hero archetypes. And we ask, what is an archetype? Well, if you'll recall from last year in your vocabulary, you had the root word para. And one of your words that you studied was paradigm, which was a model or an example of how to do something. We talked then about if you had a chemistry experiment and your teacher showed you an example of how he wanted you to do the experiment. He gave you a paradigm of how you wanted to do it. It's something you followed. Well, an archetype is the same thing. An archetype is an original model or type after which other similar things are patterned, a prototype. Archetypes are the basic building blocks of literary structure. So we say, okay, where did the hero archetype come from? Well, there was this guy, his name was Joseph Campbell. He was a scholar and he read all kinds of ancient texts. And he was reading about heroes and he started to notice similarities among the different heroes in ancient texts, like where they came from, who their parents were, what kind of task they had to overcome, who helped them, what kind of weapons they used, what kind of journeys or quests they went on, what they learned, and then how they came back and helped their people. And as he saw this, his different heroes, all in a struggle for identity, he wrote a book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces, where he analyzed all these different heroes in myths and all the human struggles that they went through. And he came up with a hero quest archetype, which he called a monomyth. So monomyth is particular to our hero quest archetype. So let's look at what is in a monomyth. Monomyth is a cyclical pattern, which is a general pattern of adventure that mythological heroes encounter during their quest. It's a cyclical pattern inspired in part by the ancient Oribus symbol, which is the snake eating its tail. You see a picture of it here. And it represents the cyclical pattern in nature as well as the necessity of life living off other life. So if you remember Indiana Jones, and I don't know which one it was, it starts out in a bar kind of somewhere in the desert. And the bad guy wants to get the treasure, and there's an artifact that's supposed to help him find that treasure. And he goes after it, and the artifact, whatever it was, falls into the fire, and he reaches in and grabs it, and he gets a big burn on his hand. That was the Oribus symbol that burns into his hand. So it's been around for a long time, the symbol. So we are looking at it in relationship to the monomyth cycle, which is the hero quest archetype. So this is it right here. We read this going from up at the top where it says birth and home, and we go counterclockwise as our hero goes on his quest or his journey. It's going to go counterclockwise. So we start at birth. He gets some kind of call to adventure. There's helpers and amulets. There's some kind of crossing of a threshold. There's tests and helpers, climax and final battle, a flight, a return, an elixir, and then he comes home. So we are going to take a few minutes and write down what each of these are, and it won't make a whole lot of sense to you until we start applying it to different stories. So let's go ahead and look at birth. In our monomyth cycle, our hero quest archetype, the birth of our hero is under some kind of fabulous circumstances. Maybe it's fabulous in whatever happens surrounding the conception. Perhaps one of his parents is a god, or he's of royal birth. but his birth and his childhood establish his pedigree. He's someone special in human terms. Then he gets his call to adventure. The hero is called to adventure by some kind of external event or messenger. The hero may accept the call willingly or reluctantly. And through the process, then he's going to have helpers, which may provide amulets. So during the early stages of the journey, the hero will often receive aid from a protective figure. The supernatural helper can take a wide variety of forms, such as a wizard, an old man, a dwarf, a crone, or a fairy godmother. There's a term you may not know, crone. Crone is an old woman. The helper commonly gives the hero a protective amulet, a charm worn against evil, or a weapon for the journey. Then there's the crossing of the threshold. Upon reaching the threshold of adventure, the hero must undergo some sort of ordeal in order to pass from everyday world into the world of adventure. This trial may be painless, as entering a dark cave, or as violent as being swallowed by a whale. Think of Jonah and the whale. And the important feature is the contrast between the familiar world of light and dark and the unknown world of adventure. So we've gone from birth to call of adventure to helpers and amulets into crossing the threshold. The next is test and helpers. The hero travels through a dreamlike world of adventure where he must undergo a series of tests. These trials are often violent encounters with monsters, sorcerers, warriors, or forces of nature. Each successful test further proves the hero's ability and advances the journey toward its climax. Now the climax, or as you notice in our pattern up here, it could be the final battle. This is a crucial moment in the hero's journey in which there is often a final battle with a monster, a wizard, or a warrior, which facilitates the particular resolution of the adventure. Then we have the flight. After accomplishing the mission, the hero must return to the threshold of adventure and prepare for a return to the everyday world. If the hero has angered the opposing forces by stealing an elixir, a remedy for ills, or killing a powerful monster, the return may take the form of a hasty flight. He might have to get out of there fast. If the hero has been given the elixir freely, the flight may be benign, mild, or fortunate stage of the journey. Different flights for different stories and different heroes. Then we have the return. The hero again crosses the threshold of adventure and returns to the everyday world of daylight. The return usually takes the form of an awakening, a rebirth, a resurrection, or a simple emergence from a cave or forest. Again, you get all kinds of varieties in the different stories. Sometimes the hero is pulled out of the adventure by a force from the daylight world. Then we have the elixir. An elixir is the object, knowledge, or blessing that a hero acquired during the adventure, and he now puts it to use in the everyday world. Often it has a restorative or healing function, but it also serves to define the hero's role in society. Then the hero goes home. A hero ventures forth from a world of common day into a region of supernatural wonder. Fabulous forces are encountered, and a decisive victory is won. The hero comes back from his mysterious adventure with the power to bestow boon, which means a blessing or advantage, on his fellow man. So again, we have Joseph Campbell's Monomyth cycle. It starts with birth, so the birth of our hero, some kind of special circumstances. Then he's called to some adventure and he goes willingly or reluctantly. He has helpers that can take many different forms, and sometimes he's given charms against evil or weapons to use, different amulets. He crosses from our everyday world into the world of adventure. There are certain tests that he has to have, and people, gods, or others that will help him out during his trials. Then there's a major battle that is reached at the bottom of our circle here, in which there is some kind of resolution to his quest. The flight can take many forms depending on the story. If he has angered somebody in that final battle, then he might have to get out of there fast, he or she. If there is a peaceful solution, then the flight may be more of a comfortable, slow one. Then he returns to the everyday world. There's some kind of elixir, that knowledge or blessing or something that he's bringing back. And then he comes home and returns from that adventure and tries to benefit the people that are in his setting and in his story. So the last question we want to consider in this series on heroes is, who actually uses the Monomyth hero quest archetype? Is it even practical for today? It was obviously in ancient literature that we're going to study, but is it even valid for today? Who uses the pattern? Well, first is probably one you're very familiar with. It's a series of Harry Potter books written by J.K. Rowling. Tremendous example of a hero's journey. Then we had the whole Star Wars series written by George Lucas, who implemented the Monomyth pattern. This blueprint of the Monomyth hero quest gives Lucas the focus he needed to draw his sprawling imaginary universe into a single story. Then you have the Wachowski brothers' wonderful film The Matrix, which is carefully built on the same archetype. So why do we study the hero's journey? Why learn a pattern that dates from before recorded history? The answer is simple. We study it because its patterns of human experience is our experience. We live it now, and we will live it for the rest of our lives. In a sense, every challenge we face in life is a journey. Every love found, every love lost, every birth, every death carries the potential of transformation into new levels of understanding. Every move to a new job, school, city opens a chance to stop being what we were and to start being what we can become. Every situation which confronts us with something new or which forces us to reevaluate our thinking, behavior, or perspective presents us with possibilities for insight and for growth. The journey is a process of self-discovery and self-integration, of maintaining balance and harmony in our lives. As we process growth and change, a journey can be confusing and painful, but it brings opportunities to develop confidence, perspective, and a new way of being in our world. So understanding the journey pattern can help us understand the literature we read, the movies we see, the experiences which shape our lives. By recognizing the journey stage and how they function, we develop a sense of flow of our own experience to be better able to make decisions and solve problems. More importantly, we will begin to recognize our own points of passage and respect the significance they have for us. So, we begin our series on heroes.